Retekess TR113 multiband receiver fills an important gap between portable shortwave receivers in the $50 to $60 range and tabletop receivers costing into the thousands. Let's take a look. Retekess TR113 is the big brother to the smaller Retekess TR112. Both are also marketed under other brand names, but they are the same product. As we'll see on this tour, the TR113 is a multiband receiver with a huge set of features that give both the novice shortwave listener and the dedicated hobbyists plenty of control over their listening preferences, as well as a variety of inputs. Hi, and welcome to the Gadget Talk channel, where we do reviews and how-tos on mostly radio-related topics like this very nice shortwave receiver from Retekess. Please subscribe to the channel and click the notification icon to make sure you don't miss any of our videos. For those who are interested, there's a join button below the video that will give you some information on why you might want to become a channel member. I hope you'll take a look. As we get started, I need to let you know that I occasionally review products provided by their sellers. That's the case here too. Retekess or Retekess doesn't tell me what to say, or do they even see the video before it's published. I occasionally will ask my contact a question to make sure I get something right when testing their product, but that's as far as it goes in terms of their input. The TR113 is listed as a ham radio, but it's really a lot more than that. While you can certainly tune the ham bands and configure the radio to receive both upper and lower sideband signals, that's just the beginning. The radio receives long wave, medium wave, shortwave, airband, broadcast FM, the NOAA Weather Channel band in North America, and VHF and UHF frequencies from 20 megahertz up to 999 megahertz. I'll point some of these things out in the following clips, but let me take a minute to call out a couple of features I particularly liked. First is the multiple tuning functions. You can spin the tuning dial, enter frequencies and directly from the keypad, or make use of the radio's robust scanning functions. Scanning makes this super simple to cover the huge range of frequencies in the various HF bands. Next is the multiple antenna options. While a good quality receiver is important, the antenna you attach to it is just as important. Antennas don't have to be complicated or expensive, but your receiver certainly needs a good antenna. The TR113 comes with an internal antenna for medium wave, an extendable antenna for FM broadcast and limited HF use, a loop antenna in the shape of a bar, plus antenna inputs for an SMA connector, and a 3.5 millimeter plug for an external antenna such as a long wire or loop antenna such as the MLA30. I've got a bunch of ham and GMRS HT radios, and I've found that screwing on a 16-inch flexible dual-band antenna does a great job of pulling in local ham repeaters and control tower transmissions from a local airport. Last in this abbreviated list is app control. You can use the Radio C app to control the TR113 from your smartphone. The QR code in the instructions will link you to the APK file. This is the same app that controls the various versions of the TR112 receiver. I'd recommend downloading the most current version of the Radio C app. Originally, my older version didn't connect to the TR113. As you'll see in the video clip about using the app, the new version works just fine. Let's take a look at what comes in the box. So here's the box that the Retekess TR113 comes in. It was packed well and came through shipping without any damage. Let's take a peek at what came inside. Now, just a couple of accessories that came in the box. First is a little brush that kind of reminds me of the brush you might get with an electric razor. A very small Phillips screwdriver to get into the battery compartment in the back. And that's really not necessary. This version of the TR113, unlike previous versions that came with a couple of 1860 style batteries, this one comes with a flat lithium-ion pack inside. So the screwdriver is really kind of unnecessary. It comes with a nice strap that fits on the loops on the top of the radio. It comes with this loop antenna that fits on a 3.5 millimeter plug on the top of the radio, and then it comes with a USB-C charging cable. Then, of course, the other thing is it comes with a couple of manuals. This smaller manual is for the app that you use to control the radio, and it has some pictures and what the various icons and buttons mean on the app. And then the owner's manual for the radio, or the instruction manual as it's called, is pretty comprehensive. It describes all of the various icons, the buttons, what they do, and then importantly, because this is fairly complex radio, it also describes all of the various menus, how to get to them, and then what the various choices mean and what they do. So that's the owner's manual. Now, let's take a look at the radio itself. So as we get started with the radio, what I have here is the TR112 radio. This one is branded as the Ratty RF320, and so you can see they are very similar in design and coming from, the same manufacturers. They both run on the same app. But you can see that the TR113 is significantly bigger, and we'll see as we go through some of these various features of the radio that's more comprehensive and thus more expensive than this little TR112. So on the front of the radio, of course, we've got the screen. It's a fairly large screen. We've got a set of buttons where you're going to be making control inputs, start and stop. If you're using the SD card for music, we can change the mode. We change the band here. Subbands is a button that makes a number of changes in terms of subdividing the whatever band is selected there. This button will move you into the VHF and UHF range. This is bandwidth and demod, so you can go in and change the modulation of the signal that's coming in, plus an attenuator switch, and then the little antenna button there allows you to make some changes in terms of whether the radio is looking at an internal or an external antenna. Across the top here in this little box, we've got the basic power on. We can put it to sleep. We can leave it in time mode, and then we can set the time. We can set alarms using the various buttons and pluses and minuses that you're used to for setting digital alarms. And then these two buttons, when we're in radio mode, we'll put in a couple of little icons there that you can use to leave either one or both of these screens illuminated, which is kind of cool. So we move down here. We can use this for scrolling through the frequencies. At the step you have selected, this will fine tune, and then you can push it for making some selections. As you can see that it just came on when I made that push button. The set and settings button, depending upon the mode you're in, will either show some overall settings if you're in time mode, or will give you a number of options for each of the radio modes that you're in, that is AM, FM, shortwave, and so forth. Down here, you can move into your presets, so you can move up and down via the tuning going up by preset channel instead of by frequency. You can delete a preset over here. And one of the things that I found really handy is this scan ATS, or automatic tuning here. And so, for example, when you get the radio and it's new, if you have it set to AM, you can do a long press here, and it'll start scanning the AM band where you are. And when it finds a frequency, it will store it as a preset. And there are a bunch of presets, so it's likely that you'll get through the entire AM band with the presets. And you can do that in the other bands as well. So FM, if you've got a bunch of local FM stations, instead of entering them all in, just press that scan ATS button, and it will scan, sense a channel, and then log it into the next available preset, which is really a time saver when it comes to programming your radio. Of course, we've got a big speaker here. The numbers here, you can type in frequencies. One of the things here is you have to press enter first, type in the frequencies, and enter next. The little zero record, a long press here, will start recording whatever the radio is playing to your micro SD card, up and down volume, and then each of the various radio bands has got a set of equalizer functions. So, voice, pop, rock, country, news, those kind of things are all selected here with this equalizer switch, which makes this, a very customizable radio. We've got a large speaker here on the front. Let's move up to the top. And so here on the top, we've got the 2 loops for the strap. We've got a rather long expanding antenna right here, and you can use that for FM, and you can try it for HF. We'll talk more about the HF receive when we get the power on. Here we've got an SMA male connector, and I find that's really cool because I've got a bunch of UHF handy-talkies, ham and GMRS, and so you can screw in one of their antennas into the top of this. I have like a 16-inch antenna, pop that on, and in the UHF or VHF bands, it really improves the reception of the radio. Now, here is the hole where the loop antenna can be plugged into, and then you can turn that antenna on and off with this little switch right here. You can do some fine-tuning here, and across the back we can put in an aux in. If you're playing music, you can use headphones, a little 3.5 millimeter headphone. Here is where the what's labeled as the TF or the micro SD card is, and then here's your charge port and data for that matter, USB-C. On this button here, we can lock. So all the way up is unlock. Here you can unlock some of the buttons, and here you can lock all the buttons. Now across the back, there's this large bass speaker, which adds to the overall quality of the sound. This silver chrome folds out to be a stand, so you don't have to set it on its feet. You can kind of lean it on this stand, get a little more stability. Here there's a plug for an external antenna. Again, we'll talk more about that later. And then in the antenna tuner, you can set it with this switch to medium wave, which is AM in the US, shortwave 1 and shortwave 2. That will provide the radio the understanding of what's plugged into it, if you will. So that's a quick overview here of the TR113 and the accessories you'll get in the box. Now, let's do a power on tour to see what the menus and buttons do. We're going to start by unlocking the buttons. I've got it set over here on the side switch, so we're going to move it up to make sure everything is unlocked. And we're going to start by pressing the sleep button. And now we've got the power. And so we can see the time and the date and all that's there. Now by pressing the set button here, we can see the temperature, and it's in centigrade. So it doesn't do me much good here in the United States. I haven't figured out a way to change it to Fahrenheit. A long press moves us into the menu for just the general settings. And so I've got the ALCD, which is this. I can go. The BLCD, which is this one over here. We can enable the app. We can enable a tone. We can turn the timer off and on, mute enabled, and then system reset. And then it gives us the version. So this version is the 1.7.10 that's being shipped right now. Here at kind of the middle of September is when I got this. The LCD for A, we can select by pressing, and then we can set the time, and we do that like we always do, just work our way through that. And then we can set color, which is kind of cool. And so by rotating the outside dial, we can change the color that is available for the background of these. A couple different colors of blue, purple, and then we're back to the default, which is green, which is where I'm going to leave it. So those are the settings here when it's in time mode. And so by pressing the sleep button again, you can see it turns green. So that means we're in one of the radio modes. I've got the volume down here so I don't end up with any problems with YouTube. And then I can set these to stay on. So I can set my time set. You see a little light bulb comes on there. I press alarm. Another little light bulb comes on. And so this should give us some display lighting here on this one. As I'm looking at it, because it's polarized, it seems kind of dim, but as I look at my camera, it's all lit up nicely there. I can change my radio bands here. I'm at 21 megahertz, so I'm in shortwave, 1360 kilohertz, and it changed to AM, so I'm down there. This is long wave, You can see it's changing there. That's FM. And now when I get into subband, I can make changes within that. So here's the 25 megahertz, 2.3 megahertz, 3.2, various AM broadcast bands that you find in HF. And it works their way up in big, but not the same as having to twist or enter things in here. If I press UHF here, I can go into the UHF band. Here's 250. Here's 118, so you can see it says air band, and it automatically tunes the AM for AM modulation, because that's what the airplanes use. And I've had that here in the house with the antenna up, and I can get the tower from an airport that's about 3 miles away. And with some of my little handy talkies, I'm not able to do that. So it's got a pretty sensitive receiver and is able to make those pickups pretty easily. Now, as I mentioned before, the settings here are different than the settings when we were in time mode. So if I press this, again, I get the temperature. So if I do a long press there on that set, then I can see different things here. So I can go for the antenna channel, the low noise amplifier gain for LNA1, low noise amplifier gain for LNA2, the overall antenna gain, squelch level. All of these are listed in the manual, and they're pretty much the same for each of these various radio bands. And then, as I mentioned before, you can type in a frequency, but to do that, you have to start by pressing the enter key. And so let's change the frequency to 4500 here, just as an example. So we'll press enter. Press enter again to select it, and then now we've got that frequency. Of course, we can change frequency based on the step that's specified up here, and then we can do fine-tuning on that one based upon that step. So that's our basic tour of the controls for the TR113. Next, let's take a look at the radio in action. In the first clip, I'll be in my Radio Shack with the radio connected to my multiband end-fed half-wave antenna I use for ham HF transmissions. It's about 20 feet up in the air and is about 66 feet long. I'll also include some audio using the SMA-style antenna on the top input from a local ham repeater. In the second clip, I'll take the radio out on the back patio and connect it to an MLA-30 loop antenna to see what we can find outside in the evening. This is FT8 on the 20-meter band.
Hours, 17 minutes. Coordinated Universal Time.
So there's WWV.
Organizations and the fascists that are inside of our own government, when there was nothing on the schedule for Donald Trump.
So tonight I'm out here on the back patio. I've got the radio connected to the external port on my MLA-30. And I've been playing around a little bit. I'm getting some stuff here in the 5 megahertz band. Frankly, it's not as good as that long wire that the previous clips were, but that's to be expected. So I've got the MLA-30 plugged in. Let's do a little scanning around here and see what we get. Little music there.
With Israel overnight against Iran, we're going to see our military might almost demolished.
As we've been preaching in the Hebrew series, the word sermon comes from the Latin word.
This religious programming, probably Brother Stare.
John's Gospel says.
But now we've moved out of that and we're back to commercial broadcast. Notice up here I've got the modulation set to AM.
What I'm thinking about is if you had any
Here's a local ham radio club's evening net
experiences that you'd
on
like
147 in the VHF range.
when you went to remodel your bathroom or kitchen.
So this is basically the AM broadcast band. We'll scan through here pretty quick so we don't end up with any music and copyright problems. You can hardly go 20 kilohertz without getting into another station. So the reception on the medium band with the MLA30 plugged into the external works really pretty well. These are stations I normally don't hear. So here we've got the extended antenna up. That's generally more of an FM kind of antenna on these little radios. And so let's scan through here a little bit and see what we get.
Where did Cain get his wife? That is so easy to answer.
Again, lots of FM stations, and the quality of the sound's pretty good.
Tonight, mostly clear.
Here's the VHF for the Phoenix area in terms of the NOAA weather.
Miles per hour. Thursday, mostly sunny. Highs 93 to 98.
Last, let's take a quick look at using the app to control the radio. So here I have the radio on, and you see on the app itself, it lists the Bluetooth devices it sees, and right here at the top is the TR113. So I'm going to click that. It connects to the radio, and you can see here that what you see here on the app is the same as what you see there on the screen of the radio. I can do all the various things that you can do on the push buttons, and so, you know, we can turn the volume up and down, we can change the band. I'm in the AM band now. Click again. I'm in long wave. Here's the FM, short wave, and I can go to the VHF, UHF. You can see up here I've moved to the last channel I had selected, which is a repeater here in the Phoenix area in the VHF ham bands. We can go here into settings, and it tells us what we've got going on in terms of the who is kind of stuff. And then we can enter frequencies. So let's go in our bands and change our bands down to shortwave. And let's say we wanted to change, instead of being 9395, just to 9500. So we click enter. 9.500, and then enter. And the frequency changes, and you saw the frequency change there on the radio as well. We can change the volume here. We can play music. So as you can see, many of the things we can do on the faceplate of the radio, we can do here on the app, which makes that all pretty handy. Okay, so what do you think? At about $260, the radio isn't cheap, but I found the feature set with multiple antenna options and band-to-band adjustments on such things as attenuation, low noise amplifier settings, and other signal adjustments to justify the price. As I record this, Amazon has a bundle that includes a smaller multiband radio in addition to the TR113 that you might find compelling. The bundle includes both radios for just under $250. Use the link below. Also, please join me over here for my radio listening playlist. It includes a couple of receive-only antenna reviews as well as reviews on a variety of shortwave listening receivers. Click the join button to learn more about the channel membership program. Thanks for watching.